Very good morning to all of our viewers. We welcome you to the Scepter channel. Welcome to you to the show. Um, and Vector, I'm your host, Dr. Mani Iyer, and with me is Ms. Varshini Maria, renowned psychologist and psychotherapist. Before we start, I want you to think of the last time someone asked you, "How are you?" and you said, "I'm just fine." Except you weren't fine. Most of us have gotten really, really good at saying that. So today's session is about what happens when we stop performing fine and start actually dealing with what's underneath it. So to discuss this and more about it, we are joined by Miss Varshini Maria. I'm thrilled to introduce Varshini Maria Ji, who is a counseling psychologist registered with the National Health Authority and the founder of Counseling to Progress. She holds an MSc in counseling psychology from the University of Madras, along with a PG diploma in counseling and psychotherapy. Her work draws on cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, and humanistic approaches with hands on experience across employee well being programs, hospital based counseling, and one on one therapeutic work, supporting people through anxiety, depression, trauma, and relationship challenges. She is going to walk us through exactly how to do that starting now. So, I would like to hand over the mic to Varshini ji. Varshini ji, over to you.
Thank you so much, Maniji, for that brief introduction. And thank you for having me here. So, everyone who's watching this, think of a time you said that I'm fine when you actually weren't. Maybe it was just 5 minutes ago. That's not a personal failing. That's what we are all trained to do. Nobody sat us down and taught us how to feel something. They taught us how to hide it well. I'm a psychologist, and there is one thing that I over and over see again in relationships, work, families. It is that people are exhausted from managing emotions instead of moving through them. So today, I'm going to give you a simple framework where you can use starting today in any part of your life, be it your relationships, at work, with your family members, and with yourself. So, what is emotional well being? Really? And as we go through emotional well being, let me quickly share the screen and explain it to you. So, as we look through emotional well being, as you can see, there are a few myths that we might have had in the past, right? So today we are going to be decoding these myths. Okay? So as we are going to be moving towards understanding each emotion, being it happy, positive, well, in reality, it is the ability to feel, process, and regulate your emotions, not suppress or perform them. What actually happens when you try to avoid an emotion? It doesn't really disappear, it leaks out in health, relationships, and in your decision making. So, one statistics points to anchor credibility, where the goal is to never feel bad, the goal is to know exactly what to do when you feel bad. Why do we struggle with emotions? Most of us are never taught emotional skills. We were taught emotional management, distract it, suppress it, Move on from it. You might have heard your relative or your family member just say, it's just part of life, right? So the cultural or the family scripts are like, don't cry, it's not a big deal, be strong. What will people think about it? So, here, your self awareness of your own emotional style is step one. Now, let's go into a framework. And this particular framework is something which has three core values. So, I will be showing them to you, and you can go through it as well. And let's start with it from today. So, when we're talking about this particular framework, as you can see, it has notice, understand, and respond to the situation instead of reacting to it. So, when we talk about noticing, the art of noticing, name a specific emotion without judgment. For example, you're anxious, or you should not feel this way, you feel a little bit of discomfort. The second core principle is to understand. Ask what that particular emotion was pointing to. So you said that you're anxious. Was it an unmet need, or was it a boundary drawn across to another person, or was it just fear of something? Sometimes you're just scared, right? And the third core principle is to respond. Choose an action instead of reacting on autopilot. Most of us react to something without pausing and reflecting on what we can say to make it better. So, an example, clear example is relationship conflict. So, if there is a relationship conflict and you use this three core framework where you notice what exactly you are feeling, you understand what is it pointing to, and you respond to what the other person has to say. So, in this way, it just isn't about fixing your emotion, it's about managing, or rather, dealing with it. Let's actually practice this for a minute. You can look into your mirror or look at your reflection, and you can start with taking a short breath or journaling. And you can drop in the comments what you felt after you did this activity. When you start journaling, you can make sure that you follow this three core framework, wherein the first one would be to notice any emotion that you're experiencing, then understand it, and last, to make sure you respond rather react. Okay? So you might think, okay, Vashni, you're talking about noticing, understanding, and responding. But when do we actually need to seek support? Everyone has ups and downs emotionally, physically, mentally. And that's not a dysfunction. It's a signal for when there is a dip, which is persistent, and it covers over weeks, not just days. And you might start to understand it interfering into your relationships, your daily lifestyle, like loss in sleep patterns, your changes in your appetite, and your daily functioning. Your work performance might deteriorate, something that you notice over a couple of weeks rather than just days. So, therapy isn't just for crisis. It is a space to build skills, not just to fix something that is broken. It's a kind of a work that I do through counseling. So let's go ahead and notice, understand, and respond to every emotion. We'll get some insight from a well renowned neuroscientists over a video. So I'll just share my screen, sharing the video once again. So we can go ahead with that. And we can draw some insight from this particular video on emotional well-being.
Varshniji, we are not able to see the video.
Yes, Maniji.
I'm not able to see the video.
You're not able to see the video? Well, it's being shared, Maniji. Are you able to see my screen?
I'm just able to see only my photo and your photo. Just 50% of the screen. Mine is 50%, yours 50%. There's no third window.
Just give me a moment. So as I'm sharing the screen, is there another window that you can see, Maniji?
No. Earlier we were able to see when you three this one framework, when you discussed that model, three framework model, that we were able to see, but this we are not able to see.
Okay, just give me a moment. Let me reshare it. I hope now it's visible.
No. Yeah, now it is. Yes.
Yes.
Now it has come.
Okay. Now I'll just reshare the video. So it's about emotional well-being from a neuroscientist, Lisa Feldman Barrett. And let's take a leap. Yeah, let's go ahead and see what she has to say about emotions.
There are a lot of misconceptions that people have about emotions and how they work. One myth is that emotions are hardwired into the brain at birth and universal across all humans and maybe even shared with other animals. Another myth is that the brain produces emotions in a very reactive kind of way. It's based on this idea that you have this animalistic part of a brain, and when the rational side of your brain wins, you're a moral, healthy person. And when the emotional side of your brain wins, then you're either immoral because you didn't try hard enough, or you're mentally ill because you couldn't control your emotions. It can certainly feel like emotions happen to you, that they bubble up and that they cause you to do and say things that are maybe ill-advised. But that explanation doesn't really capture how your brain is making emotions. My name is Lisa Feldman Barrett. I am a University Distinguished Professor at Northeastern University, and my latest book is entitled 7.5 Lessons About the Brain. I've been studying emotions for about 30 years. So right off the bat, I should tell you, scientists don't agree on how to define emotion. Like, everybody agrees that we have emotions, but nobody can agree on the definition of what an emotion is. So there's great variability in emotional lives. Some people float in a sea of tranquility. They're kind of mild and easy to deal with. Other people tread water in a tumultuous sea of emotion. They're constantly having intense experiences. They feel as if their emotions control them instead of them controlling their emotions. But all of that experience, that emotions are events that happen to you that you have to deal with, is an illusion that the brain creates. So, for example, something happens in the world. It triggers that ancient inner part of the brain, emotion circuits deep in our inner beast, and then we react to what's occurred in the world. But that's really not what emotions are, and that's not how they work.
So how would you define an instance of emotion?
The way that I would say it is like this. Your brain is always regulating your body. Your body is always sending sensory information back to your brain, like how much glucose, how much oxygen, how much salt, what's the status of almost every metabolic factor that keeps you alive and well. And your brain isn't wired in a way for you to experience those sensory changes specifically. Instead, what you experience is a summary. And that's where those feelings of pleasantness or unpleasantness, comfort, discomfort, feeling worked up or feeling calm and quiescent, that's where those simple feelings come from.
So is that an instance of emotion?
Not exactly. Feelings are properties or features of emotion, of an episode of emotion, an instance of emotion, but they're not synonymous with emotions. Just in the same way that you would experience sound as quiet or loud, you can experience feeling very activated or very calm. And what your brain is doing is telling itself a story about what is going on inside your body in relation to what's happening in the world. And it's creating this story using knowledge about emotion that you have learned from your past to predict going to see and hear and feel. That's what an emotion is. That's what an instance of any emotion is. But it's also an explanation for how every thought, every feeling, every decision, every action that you ever take is made.
So that was rightly said by Lisa Feldman Barrett. So, talking about emotions, she did give a clear example of what exactly emotions are and how you feel it. And she gave a little bit of biology as well to the brain and how your brain perceives certain things from the environment, be it sounds, be it other aspects of what your past experiences with the environment also manifests itself as an emotion. So, linking it with our core framework, what I would say is basic thing is to notice what emotion you're experiencing, understand it, and respond to it. Do not react. Do not suppress it. And there could be certain times where you might feel like there was a challenge and a difficult situation, a conflict. But before you have a word to say, immediately take a pause and name what you're feeling first. That will give you enough clarity of how to take it from there. So, Maniji, do you have any questions
Oh,
that you would like to?
thank you very much for us, for the presentation so far, which was very, very lucid and simple, and also we came to know a lot about it. Yeah, I have a few questions. Here, you mentioned emotional well-being isn't about being happy all the time,
Yeah.
but isn't it natural to want to avoid negative emotions? And why is it that actually it is harmful?
Okay. So that's a very common instinct, Maniji. And honestly, a healthy one in small doses. Nobody wants to sit in the pain longer than they have to. So avoidance becomes really harmful when it becomes our default response. So if you're having an emotion and you tend to avoid it, that's something that people tell you to do because this emotion doesn't actually go anywhere. It gets stored and it tends to show up later as irritability, physical tension, even as snapping at people who have nothing to do with the real issue. So it's less about don't avoid it ever and more about don't make an avoidance only your strategy. That is it, Manji.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, really. And let's talk about the framework a bit more. Notice, understand, rest. In the moment when somebody is actually upset, how realistic is it to pause and go through these three steps?
Okay, so that's a fair challenge. In the heat of the moment, nobody's pulling out a worksheet. So I'd say that for the first few times, you can try this. It might happen after the fact when you're reflecting on what happened. So I'm not telling you to have a pen and paper with you. What I'm telling you to do is just take a pause and reflect. That's okay because it's still in progress. And over time, with practice, the notice step especially gets really fast and almost automatic. You start catching yourself mid reaction itself rather than regretting of what you've said an hour later. It is a skill just like any other. It builds with repetition and not perfection. Yes, Manoj.
Yeah, that is, I like that very much. Practice over perfection. That's what you're saying. Just practice, right? And don't aim for perfection. So, in that sense, someone in the chat is asking, how do you tell the difference between a normal emotional dip and something that needs professional support?
That's a great question because the way I'd frame this is the duration, the intensity, and the interference. So, is it a feeling that lasts for weeks rather than days? And how intense is it? Is it affecting your sleep, as I discussed earlier, or your relationships with your near and dear ones, or your ability to function day to day? For example, loss of appetite, or you feel yourself feeling drained, energy low every single time of the day. You might have heard people say they wake up feeling tired and drained. So, these are a few things that you can look out for. And if your answer is a yes to these, then that's surely a sign that it's worth talking to someone. But honestly, you don't really need to wait for a crisis to see a therapist. Think of it like a fire extinguisher and more like a gym membership. What I'm trying to tell you is a crisis is like a fire extinguisher, where after the fire is lit, then you want to put it out. But if you look at it as a gym membership, you can keep renewing your state of mind and emotional well being, where you build strength, not putting out fires.
Thanks a lot, Varshniji. That's a great way of putting it. Uh, Another question. Do you think some people are just naturally worse at managing emotions than others?
So I push back gently on worse. I'd say different. Some people feel emotions or feel things more intensely or more often, like we saw it in the video by Lisa. And that's not a flaw, that's how they are wired. While others process things faster, but sometimes underexpress, which has its own challenges. So when things build up quietly until they don't anymore, some people say that they feel numb inside. They don't feel a sense of emotion in itself because they've suppressed so many things, and that's led to a point where they don't feel anything anymore. So, with the framework that I have shared, I hope it works for most of you. But how it shows up will look different for each person, right? And that's actually why I think personalized work, whether through coaching, counseling, or therapy, matters so much instead of generic advice. You might have seen people nowadays, they share their day to day activities with ChatGPT and other AI tools. So when it comes to that, you get a generic advice or a generic answer or a response from AI in itself. But when you talk to someone who knows about you or who can guide you to making you more self aware, that will have something more personalized for you. Yes, Maniji. That's my response to your question.
Right. So that's kind of very nicely put and very delicately put. So that's a helpful nuance. So last question from me before we wrap. For someone watching this who feels like they've spent years suppressing emotions and don't even know where to start, what's one small first step?
So, what I would tell them is to start small, really very small. Literally, only naming what you feel, maybe once a day, out loud or in a note on your phone. No action is actually required at that time. You're just identifying what you are experiencing. You don't have to take action, you don't have to fix it. You just start by naming it. If you're anxious, yes, I'm anxious. If you're tired, I'm tired. If you're happy, I'm happy. So, in this way, you kind of tell yourself that you're actually proud of yourself that day before you go to sleep because you experienced all these emotions. And this one small habit, done consistently, retains your brain to notice emotion instead of just bypassing it. And everything else in the framework builds from that one small step of identifying how your emotion is gets managed.
Yeah, I sort of like that very much. It was so simple, lucid, doable place to start. Vashni ji, thank you so much for this. And before we close out, where we want to know where we can find you, where people can find you if they want to contribute, continue learning from you.
Sure. So thank you so much for having me, and it was a lovely conversation, Maniji. So people can actually find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. Uh, I also offer online sessions around the world, and if you're especially in Chennai, we can have it offline as well. And you can comment in the window, and I'll be able to reach out to you through you. So thank you, Maniji. It was really, really a lovely session. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Vashni ji. It was perfect. It was, very simple, and it was very, it's very doable, and it's very, to the at the basic level. So we'll drop. What we'll do is your Insta links and your, other links that you might have, which your Facebook links or whatever, where people can reach you, your social media links. We would like to put it in the description of the video. So kindly share the same so that we can put it in the description so that now people
Sure.
can easily, can find you and they can, they can, yeah, they can contact you. Thank you very much, Varshni ji. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming here, taking time out from a very busy schedule and coming and joining us on the Spectra channel. Thank you very much. Thank you, and I also thank the viewers for joining us today. Thank you all, and Varshini we'd like to see you soon. So hopefully we'll see you soon in another broadcast. Thank you, Uchi. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.